Hello, everyone. Welcome to science class. This is Mr. Vallejo, and today we will be looking at an introduction to environmental science. So let's go ahead and go to the screen share and get started with today's talk. Again, this is called Introduction to Environmental Science. This is based on Cunningham and Cunningham's Environmental Science, a Global Concern textbook. So as we take a look at environmental science throughout this course, we, of course, are looking to understand the environment in which we live. In today's talk, we'll be taking a look at these topics, some current conditions, the historical perspectives, four major ones in environmental science, a divided world, which has to do with the haves and the have-nots. Is this development sustainable? Can we keep it going? What's happening to the indigenous people of the world? And ethics and justice are issues that are typically studied in an environmental science class or even course of study that we don't typically look at in other fields of science like biology, chemistry, or physics. And that also includes environmental racism. Alrighty, so in environmental studies, environmental science, I'm glad you're in this course, or maybe you're taking a section, a unit in ecology or environmental studies in your biology or marine biology course. Whatever course you're taking, humans have always inhabited both a natural world and a social world, and so in environmental studies, we try to incorporate the latter, the social world, in our study of the natural world. Now, what is the environment? Well, the environment is circumstances or conditions that surround an organism or a group of organisms. Now, we often talk about the abiotic conditions, which are the conditions of the non-living world, such as sunlight or dissolved oxygen content in a lake or a river or stream or the ocean. It might be the amount of minerals that are in the upwelling from the bottom of the ocean. So there are many abiotic conditions. Biotic conditions may be things that include interactions between living things, like between predator and prey, even intraspecific, like between two males of the same species competing for the right to mate. So these abiotic and biotic conditions are circumstances that surround directly an organism or a group of organisms. But in environmental studies, we also realize that there is a complex of social or cultural conditions that also affect an individual or community. It's not just the biotic or abiotic conditions, that's also the interaction of the organisms on a social level, on a cultural level, that are important to study and recognize and take into account when planning. So environmental studies is a systematic study of our environment and our proper place in it. Okay, so because of that last phrase, environmental studies incorporates information from other aspects of other courses or other lines of study, not just the natural sciences, but also the social sciences. Also, humanities. Some things have uh, a, uh, a, a value just because they exist. Some uh, are valuable because they are pleasing to the eye or the ear. So they have some type of aesthetic value. So not just the uh, social studies, including sociology and psychology, but the humanities and art, visual art and music all play a part in the study of environmental science. Environmental science is focused on understanding and resolving environmental problems that humans themselves have created. So as you take a look at this diagram here, it says here many kinds of knowledge contribute to our understanding in environmental science. And this is just for one, the examples are for one topic. If you look in the center, it says the goals, clean energy in the future. But all of these questions need to be addressed as we consider clean energy for the future. It's not just about engineering, can we design better vehicles? Okay, but it's also ecology. How does energy production affect populations? That's important to know. We might study that in biology, but look, also economics, what are the costs, what are the benefits if we pursue this? Will people actually do it? Sociology, how do we do it? Chemistry. So there are many, many aspects of different topics, different concerns that we address in environmental science. But all of these goals and topics have multiple places where information is gathered and considered when forming the solution to the problem. It was said in the 90s, I remember, the biggest problem with the Earth, the biggest environmental or ecological problem is that there are too many people on Earth. And we have over 7 billion people at the time of this election, over 325 million people in the United States. 1 out of every 6 people are Chinese. 1 out of every 6 people are Indian. We have a lot of people on Earth, and because we have a lot of people on Earth, there are lots of different problems. Climate change, burning fossil fuels causes global climate change. That is happening. Is it cyclic, or is it something that we need to address right away? More and more people are saying, yes, it is, and we need to do something about it for future generations. What about hunger? People are starving in different parts of the world. Even in our backyards, there are people who don't have enough food, or people who have food insecurity. Food is inequitably distributed across the globe, and 2/3 of the agricultural lands show signs of degradation. Wow. So we need more food distributed more equally, even though the lands are not as productive. So it's a problem that needs to be addressed. Clean water may be the most critical resource in the 21st century. Out of all the water on Earth, only about 1% of it is usable for us humans as a society, as individuals. Only 1% is available for use. How do we increase that number? How do we get it to the places that don't have it yet? Clean water. Energy, fossil fuels use causes pollution. There's a shift to using more renewable energy resources. Have you done it yet? Do you have an electric car? Do you have solar panels on your house? And for me, the answer is no and no. And so sometimes with ecological, environmental issues. It has to do with costs. Can you afford to do it? Can you afford to drive an electric car? Can you afford to purchase a new electric car when you have a working gasoline engine in your car? How much does it cost to get solar panels on your roof, and how long does it take to make that money back? If you're not going to be in that particular house for long, maybe it's not worth it. Or maybe if the turnaround time is to make your money back is too long, then it's not worth it. So it needs to be economically feasible in order to get some of these things going. Another question, government. Does government help with this? Are there government incentives or government incentives necessary? Am I in favor of raising taxes to create the opportunity for government incentives for people who make less salary than I do? These are all questions and concerns for energy. And so remember, in environmental science, there's not just the hard facts, but there's also the correct thing to do, the ethical thing to do, the equitable thing to do. These are all considerations when studying environmental science. And then biodiversity loss, I remember in the 1990s, this was something that was a really big concern. It's even worse now. And it says here, species are being lost at a rapid rate. In fact, my current read is a book called The Sixth Extinction. And so we have had 5 major extinctions in its history, in the history of life on Earth. And it is likely we are in the middle of the 6th extinction. Air pollution, air quality is worsened dramatically in many areas. I, for one, live in an area that is well known in the United States as having some, if not the worst, pollution in the country. As far as air pollution goes, I live in the Los Angeles metropolis. I live in the northwestern region of the metro region, and so I actually used to live in the worst polluted area called the San Fernando Valley. And when my son was young, he was asthmatic. We moved to where we live now, so that we could have better air for him. And so air pollution is certainly a current condition that is directly due to the large human population. All right, but there are signs of hope. Progress has been made on many fronts. Cities are more livable today, especially in underdeveloped countries than a century ago due to human birth rate stabilization and clean technology use. Plumbing, for example, even things that we sometimes take for granted in developed countries. Health incidence of life-threatening diseases has been reduced in most countries, not just COVID, but other things. That diseases that were known to wipe out people many, many years ago are much better now. And so when people are looking to retire, when an American is looking to retire and considering other places, even other countries, one of their concerns is how is the health care in fill in the blank country? Is it decent? Is it worth it? Can I live in that country and not be concerned that I will not be able to get quality medical care, health? Information, education. Education is something that is often said that education is the road out of poverty, and education is expanding access to knowledge is essential to progress. So especially with the internet and the development of the internet and the information age, you certainly are able to access much information if you have internet access. Not everyone does. Sustainable resource use and habitat conservation, especially in the TRF and the tropical rainforest, that's notable. Again, in the 90s, there was something called the slash and burn technique. And what they would do is they would go to the tropical rainforest and cut down trees and burn those trees and then dig the ash back into the soil so that the soil has some minerals in it. And then that area would be good for agriculture for a few years. And then the tropical soil is not terribly fertile soil. So then you got to move somewhere else and do it all over again. So not so much now as in the 90s. And more and more people are aware of habitats and how protection of habitats of endangered or threatened species is important. And so sustainable resource use and habitat conservation certainly has increased in recent times. Renewable energy progress is being made in transition to renewable energy sources. Is it going fast enough? Again, do we continue to offer government incentives for people to switch over from, say, cheap hydrothermal electric resources to solar panels, renewable energy? Carbon markets and standards, cap and trade programs help limit greenhouse gas emissions, carbon dioxide, directly associated with global warming. People are aware of their carbon footprint today, and laws and regulations and cap and trade programs are essential in making companies aware and enforcing the mandate to reduce those carbon emissions. And international cooperation, some international environmental protection agreements have been highly successful. There's lack enforcement for air pollution. Of course, there's the Montreal Protocol that had to do with the improvement of the situation to help to reduce acid rain situations in the northeastern United States and New England and such, and more so in Canada, because it's like factory emissions from the Ohio River Valley area, all the way up to Pittsburgh. All that would go into the air and travel hundreds of miles to the most populous section of Canada. And then that rain that was coming down would be more acidic than typical.